Hi, my name's Kenneth, and I'm here to do another review for a Revolver expansion. This time we're going to take a look at expansion 1.3, Vengeance on the Frontier. And if we turn the box over, we can see everything that's included. And again, they have 2 new modules to play with. So in this video, we're just going to be taking a look at all the new things that are included in this expansion and maybe help you decide whether or not you want to make this purchase. So, all right, let's take a look at Revolver 1.3, Vengeance on the Frontier. First, we're going to look at the new module from this expansion, and this is a pretty big addition to the game, and this is the Frontier deck. So the card right here, this is the back of the card, so you can see the back of all the Frontier cards are different than the regular cards. And the Frontier deck is a separate deck of cards. There are 22 of them in this expansion, and these are cards that both players can draw from. So how do you get a Frontier card? Well, you have to pay 1 coin for it, this little silver dollar here. There are 6 of these coins in this expansion. So you can get these various ways during the game, but the most common way to get a coin is to lose a battle. So after the attack phase, after each little battle scene, the loser of each battle gets a coin. And then on your next turn, during your play card or draw card phase, you spend a coin and you can take 1 Frontier card. So there's a lot of Frontier cards. They're all pretty wordy, so I'm just going to try to look through them all in one take. So I might make a few mistakes or stutter, but you're going to have to bear with me. I'm probably not going to comment too much on them because then this video would probably be a half hour long. But all right, let's try to take a look at all these new Frontier cards. So up first, we have the big one. We have Old Three Toes Grizzly Bear. So you see that first icon there. It's the 1 discard, but this is I believe this is discard 1 card at random. So you don't get to choose. Your opponent will just randomly take 1 card from your hand. And then it has the padlock icon, which means you can play this at the prison face down. And this has 1 True Grit token. So this card, you return this card to your hand during your draw phase from wherever it may be in play. It does not count for any column limit. So that means when you play this card, your next turn, you pick this card up, put it back in your hand. So you got to pay for it every turn if you want to keep playing it. But it's pretty strong. And yeah, I guess you could play it at the prison for free, face down, which isn't a bad idea. But yeah, that's Old Three Toes. Up next we have Earl Daggett, Vengeful School Marm's Widower, 3 firepower, and again the prison padlock, so you can put him face down at the prison. Up next we have Wishbone Cutter, Whiskey Soaked Frontiersman. So when you play this card, you draw 3 cards from your deck, show them to your opponent. He decides which 2 of them to keep. The other one is discarded. So this guy costs 1 coin to play, but drawing 3 cards, keeping 2 out of 3, that's not too bad. But speaking of bad, we have the Prototype Davis Motor Wagon. So you may discard 1 card to move this card to the current battlefield, impervious to the derail of the train. So I just think this card is really funny because it's a really weak firepower, but he does have the little gun sight on him, so you have to kill this guy first before you can kill any other cards. So it's not horrible, but I just I don't know. I think it's a lot just for a 1 firepower card. But again, the gun sight is pretty handy to have sometimes. Next, we have Fresh Horses at Chicken Paw Rock. So you force your opponent to pick up any one of the non-location cards he's played this game of your choosing. All right. Next, we have the Sea of Cattle. Place this card beside the current battlefield. Cards cannot be picked up from or moved into or out of this battlefield. If Old Three Toes is ever present at this battlefield, she is discarded. So if your opponent has some really good cards at a certain battlefield, if you play this there, that's pretty awesome because they're all pretty much stuck there in the Sea of Cattle. So, Up next, we have Horseman's Longcoat. Play this card at any time to place a character card or a firepower card from your hand face down at the prison, as if it had a padlock icon on it. Next, we have White Angel Waterfall. +1 or -1 Mexican border token, or remove a row blocking card from play, or the McGreedy player may block any row at any battlefield. So it costs a coin to do this, but I don't know, it's not too awful. Up next, we have the Smashed Bank Safe. You can gain 2 coins, or draw 2 cards from your deck, or move any 1 card back 1 battlefield. That's a nice card, gives you a few options there. Next, we have Quicksand. In your opponent's next turn, he may only play 1 poker chip bearing card of any color from his hand. Other cards are not effective. You like how they spelled color there? C-O-L-O-U-R. Ooh. I don't know. Maybe that's how they spelled it in the Wild West. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But, yeah, this card's kind of cool because they can only play 1 firepower card the next turn. So you're kind of hindering their hand a little bit. But next we have Trading Post at Prairie Dog Junction. So you may do either as many times as you wish, now before playing any further cards. Discard 3 cards to draw 2 new cards from your deck, or discard 2 cards to draw 1 card from the Frontier deck. So if you have a bunch of crappy cards, you can try to cycle through them and get some new cards with this one. Next we have High Noon. It costs 2 cards and 1 coin to play. Place this card beside the current battlefield. All firepower cards played by both players here now cost an extra 1. So if you already have a bunch of firepower cards down there and you play this, your opponent's going to have to pay a lot more just to play their cards. And here we have the cards on the cover of the expansion box. Vultures picking at the organ grinder's corpse. So plus or minus 1 Mexican border token, or pick up any one of the non-location cards you've played this game. So yeah, that's the cover card right there. And here we have Ferry Crossing at Bitter Creek. +1 or -1 space, or move any 1 non-location card up 1 battlefield. That's not a bad card. And here we have Doc. Was it Ferrix Cure All Liniment, cures general malaise, gout, and hair loss? Oh boy. Take 1 coin from your opponent, or take 2 wounds off Jack Colty. So if you're the Jack Colty player and you get this card, oh man, that's fantastic, because -2 wounds is massive. That's really good. So yeah, this is definitely a card a Jack Colty player really wants, or the McGreedy player wants, because then the Jack Colty player won't get it. So that's a good card. Then we have Telegraph Office at White Rocks. Force your opponent to show you 2 cards from his hand. Choose one of him to keep. He discards the other. If he has only 1 card, he discards it. So yeah, it's the Telegraph Office. And then we have the Exploding Whiskey Still. Gain 2 attack this turn. Play only during the attack phase. When the attack phase is over, you may destroy 1 location card or row blocking card at this battlefield. Counts as dynamite. That's not a bad card to have. And then we have the Chinese Rail Workers Tent Village. Discard this card to play a coin cost, or discard this card to play a 2-card discard cost. So this card's pretty good. If you don't have too many cards or coins to get rid of, you can use this to pay for other cards. Now we have the Indian Sweat Lodge. Look at the top 3 cards of any deck, put them back in any order, or place them at the bottom of that deck. So you could use this on your opponent's deck, you could use this on the Frontier deck, or your deck. So yeah, the Indian Sweat Lodge is kind of a fun card to play. Then we have Hold It There. Now move your hand real slow like. So cancel any card of your opponent as it is played, unless he discards a coin and 1 other card. So this is really good to play when your opponent does not have any coins, because then they cannot cancel it. That seems to happen to me a lot. So yeah, I really like this card, except when it's played on me. But yeah, that's a good one. Then we have Lucky Shot. Place a wound on Jack Colty or prevent one bandit kill. That's a pretty good card to have, especially if you're the Colonel McGreedy player. Putting a wound on Jack Colty is always good. And last, but probably least, we have Jimmy Shaker, Judgment Day Preacher. So he has the, he's got the padlock there, prison padlock. This card counts as 0 firepower when placed as a padlock card. So this card is a, yeah, it's a decoy. It's basically a decoy hat, but the preacher doesn't have a hat. But this guy, he's worthless. He doesn't do anything. He's just, you put him at the prison face down, so your opponent doesn't know what it is, you know. It could be old Three Toes or something really powerful, but he's actually worthless. So it's not bad, I guess, if you're trying to scare your opponent at the prison battlefield. But yeah, usually when you draw this card, you just kind of shake your head and put them face down at the prison. So there you have it. These are all the new cards in the Frontier deck. So now we're going to look at all the new cards for the Colonel McGreedy player. And first up, we have Grady Season's Bounty Hunter. When you play this card, your opponent may decide to place a wound token on Jack Colty. If he does, discard this card. So this card, it's free to play, it has lots of firepower, but as soon as you play it, your opponent can tell you to discard it if they want to put a wound on Jack Colty. So that's kind of a tough call for the Jack Colty player, because remember, wounds can be really bad. But this guy does have a lot of firepower, so I really like this card because it really puts the Jack Colty player in a tough position. Next, we have the Long-Sighted Rifle. And this one, you see it costs 1 coin to play this card. And you can either place a wound on Jack Colty or destroy 1 firepower card or shuffle old Three Toes from play back into the Frontier deck. So this one gives you 3 pretty good options. A coin can be a little expensive, but I think it's a really good card. Up next, we have You Double Crossing Snake. And this one is pretty expensive. You have to discard 2 cards at random and pay 1 coin. But if Manolito is still alive, slide that card over to your side of the current battlefield. His I don't know, his like grave tombstone number equals his firepower rating, but his text no longer applies. He gains a sheriff badge icon and is considered a kill for you this turn. So who's Manolito? If you forget, Manolito is just this guy. He's a bandit for the Jack Colty player. So when you play this card, you just, if he's still alive, you just take it and put it on your side of the battlefield, and he's basically a 2 firepower card for you. So it's kind of cool because you're killing a bandit and you're gaining 2 firepower. 2 birds with 1 stone there. But I guess you do not get to do the text there. Remember, when he dies, you're supposed to take 2 tokens off the Mexican border, so you don't get to do that, but you do get to kill him, so that's pretty good. But I find most of the time I play this card, Manolito, or most of the time, by the time I draw this card, Manolito is already dead, so I don't get to play it as much as I'd like to, but it's kind of a neat card. And finally, we have the Apache Settlement. And when you play this card at an upcoming battlefield, this card cannot be moved. If the Indian Reservation card is in the opposite column, put 2 +1 firepower tokens on this card. So I usually don't use this card because the Indian Reservation is not always in the opposite column, but I don't know, if you go heavy on the Indian or Native American cards, I should say, this could be useful, but it's kind of, yeah, it's pretty, yeah, I don't know, I don't think I've ever used it. But anyway, so yeah, those 4 cards are the new cards for the Colonel McGreedy player. Now we're going to take a look at the Jack Colty cards. First up, we have Badwater, Mason's Ransacked Ranch. This card costs 1 coin to play, and its firepower value is the same as the defense power of the current battlefield. This card cannot be moved. This card does not count toward any column limit. So, for example, if you were to play this card at Whiskey Canyon, it would have a +3 firepower. So that's pretty good if you play it at the right battlefield. So you got to kind of hope you draw it early in the game so you can get that high firepower because if it's only +1, it's probably not worth spending a coin on it. But anyway, up next we have this card, A Glint in the Mountains. So this one's pretty expensive. You have to pay a coin and discard 2 cards. But you remove a face-down ambush card from play from any battlefield without looking at it. So I personally don't really like this card because you could just be removing a decoy hat or some crappy ambush card. And that's kind of expensive. It's a little risky. But then again, you could get rid of a bear trap or something else. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of A Glint in the Mountains. And up next we have Lasso. Shuffle old 3 toes from play back into the frontier deck, or place 1 played sheriff back on top of your opponent's deck. Attachments are discarded. So yeah, this card is free to play. I guess it's not terrible, but I usually don't find myself putting this one in my deck. But anyway, the last card we have here is, oh boy. So I think last video I said I was okay at pronouncing Native American names, but I guess that was a lie, because I don't know how to say this girl's name. Is it Tayanita, Cherokee, blah, I don't know. So I guess I'm not good at pronouncing anything. This chick, she has +3 firepower, but when you play her, your opponent may decide to remove 1 Mexican border token. If he does, discard this card. So if you remember in the Colonel McReady deck, they had a card that they could be removed if they put a wound on Jack Colty. So that's a lot worse than just removing 1 token from the Mexican border. So I think most of the time you play this lady, she's probably gonna get removed unless the Mexican border is looking pretty low. But yeah, it's not bad. +3 firepower is pretty strong, so who knows. So anyway, those are the new cards for the Jack Colty player. So there you have it. That's all the new stuff for expansion 1.3. I feel that the Frontier deck is a really good addition to the game. And the cards are pretty good, but in expansions 1.4 and 1.5, I think they also introduce even more Frontier cards. So if you think the Frontier deck is good now, it only gets better with the future expansions. As for the deck building cards, there's only 4 for each player, so nothing too fantastic in those cards. But this expansion is mostly about the Frontier deck. Sometimes when you're playing with the Frontier deck, you keep paying coins, you keep drawing cards, but sometimes all the cards you draw are just awful or useless. So it's not always a good thing. Sometimes you just get bad luck with a Frontier deck, but overall I think it's a really good addition to the game, and yeah, just another great expansion to the Revolver game. So there you have it, Revolver 1.3, Vengeance on the Frontier.